Hey guys, CreamCrazy here. Welcome to the March Q&A video, being done a day early because I'm off to Progress Wrestling tomorrow and I'm probably going to be back quite late, and I'd rather do a revision for a mock exam than do this video. But nonetheless guys, we're here because there's two things to get excited about. One, I'm answering questions, exactly the reason why I love doing this vid. And second, WrestleMania is 1 week away. Believe it or not, it is 1 week away. And some of these questions are WrestleMania related, some are not. That's what you get from a Q&A. It's the beauty of it. Now, I hope you lot are looking forward to these questions, because some of them are pretty damn good. And ladies and gentlemen, whoever sent me these questions, you know who you are. I know who most of you are. Thank you so much for the questions you've given in. It is awesome of you to do that. That's one of the reasons I love doing these. You can get any form of question from anywhere. Let's start off first. I'm not going to go into any details. You probably know why I'm wearing this hat right now. Hair's a complete mess. You know the rest of the story. Ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off with the largest 85. His question here. Do you see John Cena ever, and I mean ever, turning heel? Interesting, because I have said for a multitude of years now that Cena needs to turn heel to basically make his character fresher and allow the audience to basically give a shit. The only issue with this, I find, is that finding the right time has passed on so many different occasions. It makes you wonder, will they? As he is a big cash cow, as he is still the big merchandise shipper that he is, you wonder, and so do I, will it happen? Because for me, I can see it happening, but I just have no idea when. That is the one great thing about this. I think some people are predicting that he will turn heel at WrestleMania because he's being booed to hell. He will embrace the hate, as Kane said. But then I don't even see that happening. I really don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Okay, largest. I know it seems unlikely at this current stage, but think about it. Just imagine if somebody being built in the WWE right now reaches a point where they're, I would say, level on par with Cena. Now, I'm not saying Orton's that point, but he technically is. But I wouldn't turn him, he's already technically a face, so, and their rivalry's been done to death. So I'd wait for someone who is big enough and good enough to handle the top spot, handle the pressure, and then have Cena go heel on that. Have Cena turn heel in say they're in a tag team together, they do well, he's a young up-and-comer who is quite popular, makes it quite big, and then Cena basically beats the shit out of him, and he becomes a heel that way. I feel it's only going to happen if it's someone new, though. He's not going to turn heel against some old guy or a guy on the current roster. He's going to turn heel against someone we don't know, or someone we didn't know now, but someone we do know in the future. It's not going to happen within the next couple of years, but I do see it happening somewhere. Let me point that out. Somewhere. I do see this happening. Rohit Yadav. I got this question from Facebook the other day. Thank you. Should Rock and John Cena have a rematch after their WrestleMania match? Now, this has been a common topic of discussion because a lot of the news articles have been saying that there's going to be a best 2 out of 3 series and there's going to be a rematch at WrestleMania next year. The thing is, they can draw out Triple H versus Undertaker because it's a compelling story. It can come back and bite you in the ass every time because they can add something new. They added Shawn Michaels to it this time. They've added Hell in a Cell this time. It makes perfect sense. You then, on this point, Rock Cena is billed as once in a lifetime, okay? One is going to get the better of the other, and that's that. This, of course, doesn't mean that they may not have a rematch. Because Rock Hogan had a rematch nearly a year later. So they could. They shouldn't, though. Because if you're gonna in some cases, if you're gonna have Rock beat Cena, or Cena beat Rock, that should be the end of it. Because whoever is better than the other, it should be the end of the story from there. There is no way I want to see another match of this magnitude. Fuck it. I do not want to see Rock Cena 2 at WrestleMania next year. Because what would be the point, apart from the other guy wanting to make amends and do better, knowing he actually has a higher probability of losing the second time round? Does it make sense? No. And it therefore means There is no point to having Rock, Cena wrestling again. If this is being billed as a once-in-a-lifetime, the advertising should stick to its claim. If it's once in a lifetime, make it once in a lifetime. Do not put it on next year. I'd rather go to New York, New Jersey, and watch Punk Austin or something else. John Cena Taker, I would pay money to see. Because I do not want to see The Rock get involved again. Now, a lot of people would want to go to New York and see it again. You know? And they would want to go to a pay-per-view like SummerSlam or Survivor Series and see it all again. But because Rock can easily slip in and out of WWE without making too much of a fuss, we will forget about it. After the match happens, we will forget about it. Because it'll be done and dusted. There is no way, ladies and gentlemen, this should happen again. Period. If this happens again, Lord knows what's going to happen. It doesn't make sense if this match happens one more time for the sake of it. It's not going to work. Seriously, Rock and Cena, when this match is over, and I hope it's a bloody good one, that should be where the storybook finishes. The end. Simple. Raylot2 asks, where do you think WrestleMania will be held in the future? Right, we know Cowboy Stadium is getting it. They can't hold it 2013, they can't hold it in 2014. So that's 2 years running, they can't hold it. They're effectively getting it in 2015, almost by process of elimination. They're getting it in 2015. I'm happy with that. Big stadium, could be massive. Let's hope they don't delay a Punk Austin feud till then, because I would get restless. There are a few places I do want them to go. I mean, Wembley Stadium, they're never going to do it, but I'd love it anyway. The next place I really think they would go is the Big Dog. The Louisiana Superdome, or the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, as it's now known. How that place has not been used yet, I have no clue. How on earth has that not been used? It's fucking awesome. It's one of the biggest dome stadiums, or completely, it is a dome after all, one of the biggest dome stadiums in America, one of the biggest icons of America. Don't tell me I'm lying, because it is a great icon of American sport. And it's a big venue which has got so much notoriety about it, so much good things about it. And plus, when the fuck it's never been there before. WrestleMania's never been there before. I would love to go to Louisiana for that. Especially, fuck it, I thought they'd go to the Superdome sometime after Hurricane Katrina to help ingest money into their economy after that. I thought that was going to happen, but they went to Ford Field, the Citrus Bowl, and then Reliant Stadium. You're thinking, they need to give the Super Bowl some dues here. This is worth it. This is needed. Fuck it, bring it back to the Sky Dome. Everyone wants to see it back at the Sky Dome. Hell, I want to see it back at the Sky Dome. So, I'd go for Superdome, Cowboy Stadium, basically, yeah, Super Bowl, Superdome, Cowboy Stadium, and the Sky Dome. Or the Rogers Center, as it's now called. There for the next 3 years. I think they would actually hold WrestleMania 30 in the Superdome. How cool would that be? Putting it out there, people. I'm not always right, but that's something I'd love to see. An arena of that magnitude. It'd be fun. Probably over 85,000 people in there. That'd be worth it. Sean7303 asks, do you think Mason Ryan and Ezekiel Jackson would make a good tag team? To be perfectly honest, I could see them being a good team. Big, both strong guys, power offensive moveset. Could work out well. They're not doing anything right now. I always thought that Ezekiel Jackson and Big Show would have been a better team. Really. I always thought Big Show could have tutored Ryan or Jackson. More likely Jackson, though, because he's more similar in terms of frame and size. I wouldn't say size, but in terms of strength. Definitely. I always thought that Big Show could have spent his last year in the company mentoring Ezekiel and then basically putting him over in the biggest way possible. But unfortunately, that isn't going to happen because Big Zeke has already won the Intercontinental Championship. Not going to happen in a million years, and I'm very disappointed. On the case of Mason Ryan and Big Zeke, as they're not doing anything right now, they could meet up backstage and go, "You want to form a tag team? Show these people how real wrestlers do their job." Or in the case of real muscly wrestlers do what they have to do. Then that would make some sense, wouldn't it? I think I'd like to see it. I think they'd make a good team. We haven't got many power offensive tag teams. We've got Primo and Epico. Light heavyweight cruiserweights. We have Kofi Kingston and R-Truth. They're in that same band region of light heavyweight to almost heavyweight. To have guys like Mason Ryan and Big Zeke in a tag team, they'd be able to say, look, we're giant heavyweights. Tag team wrestling isn't all about flying about and doing epic shit with the other guy doing tag team moves from the top rope and so forth. You need a bit of power. Just like the APA. With that muscly tag team of their time, when the Hardys, actually the Dudley Boys were just basically big, fat, and knew how to use tables. But the APA were a good muscly tag team that every tag team division needs. And therefore, Mason Ryan and Big Zeke will fit right into that puzzle piece opening that they need. That would be great. The tag team division sorely needs that, in my opinion. And John Venter, or Vent, how do you spell it? Just Vent? Okay, I'll take it from there. John Vent asks, speaking of tag team division, why does the WWE insist on breaking up tag teams and destroying the division that used to foster great main event level talent, no matter how many videos, audios and posts the YWC make about bringing it back? Simple. It's a very simple reason why they are breaking up tag teams and destroying the division. 1. Vince McMahon likes making single stars, because basically ever since Shawn Michaels left Marty Jannetty behind, it has been basically that. That has been the formula for every single tag team since. And I feel that WWE realizes they can take... The thing is, I've criticised this before in the past, in one of my previous Q&As, that breaking up tag teams before they're ready is a stupid thing, because if they have not developed enough personality with the crowd, then there is no reason to split them up. Because what is the point of splitting a tag team up if they have no purpose? Crime Time is a prime example. Because they got broken up, they had a feud with each other, and then they just both disappeared. Shaq got released not too long after that. And that's a disappointment. Because the tag team division... Also, the tag team division hasn't really been used as a main event talent builder. You often have guys winning the US title or winning Money in the Bank from the middle of the mid-card to upper mid-card. Tag teams aren't used for main event talent building anymore. I mean, sure, the last guy to benefit from tag teams was The Miz, because he turned on Morrison and then 3 years... Oh, of course, was in Show Miz as well, but you see my point. He was in a tag team and look where he ended up. He's now the latest guy to benefit, but it's been a long time since a tag team has really benefited and gone to the main event, so... Ow, that water just springed up and hit me in the eye. Oh, that is a massive glass, people. Camera does not do it justice. But still, the fact is that it has not been used a lot since Miz, I've already said. But I feel that I don't really want to build big guys and big stars from other avenues. And plus, Vince McMahon thinks tag team wrestling is a dead art form, which obviously it isn't. But at the same time, because he knows singles stars make money. And that's the mantra that has been in WWE's forefront for almost all of its existence. Past, obviously, the period in the 80s where tag teams were huge. And of course in the early 2000s when the tag teams were all the rage. It's annoying that that's the case now, but it's how it is. We may want to bring it back all we want. We may want tag teams to do anything, to rebuild the tag team division to what it was. It'll take time, but I can definitely assure you, Vince McMahon is just doing it because he knows single stars do a lot more for his pocket than anything else. And plus, fuck it, maybe Primo could spring out from Epico and become a big star. Then again, I don't see that happening in a million fucking years. But... never say never in the WWE. And I've never gotten tongue twisted saying WWE before, so this must be a very long night ahead of me. MSDC Punk. Very good questions last time round. Let's see if you can keep them up in this video. Do you think the WWE could have gotten more mileage out of the Orton McMahon storyline in 2009? Should they have tried to replicate the Stone Cold Vince feud of the Attitude Era? Well... to answer the first point, they should have got more mileage out of this. Instead of just turning it from going into Cena and Triple H and everything like that. This should have lasted ages. Because I feel... I always find the best storylines and the best personalities of wrestlers are coming out when they are attacking the boss. And it basically made Orton a juggernaut from there. And I think... I think the storyline only really lasted until around May, June time of that year. It didn't really go beyond WrestleMania much. Because then Triple H got his hands on him and bam, anything happened. But I feel that, imagine Orton harassing McMahon's family all the time. Just getting inside the heads of the boss to basically give him what he wanted when he knew he didn't have to lift a fucking finger in the ring to do it. Intense psychology of that. And storytelling. In the ring, he could be as aggressive as he wanted to, because if he injured somebody, he could basically say, fuck it, I'm not paying any fines you're giving me or anything like that. I'm walking on my own 2 feet. The boss can't do anything about it. And he'll be universally hated because he's a jackass about it. That should have been how it went. He should have basically messed with them. I'm annoyed they involved Triple H in the whole storyline of McMahon and everything with Stephanie, but the minute he got taken out with an injury of any form, it will then be Orton against the world, and again, Orton against the world, McMahon would be cowering. It wouldn't be like Austin Stone Cold, because they can't replicate that feud. No matter how many times anyone tries to replicate a boss versus wrestler feud, it is never going to be done like replicating Stone Cold Vince, because there was the fact is, when you attack a face boss, and the fact that Vince McMahon was a face when Orton attacked him, there is no way you could make it like Austin Vince, because face versus heel versus face. The fact is, one guy in that entire feud stayed on the one side, which is Vince was the bad guy, Stone Cold was the good guy. The good guy literally made his life a living hell in one aspect of turning his company inside out, because he felt was the only way of telling him, yeah, you're not going to get rid of me. Basically, I'm here to stay, and if you don't like it, you can shove it. In the case of Orton, he would basically be saying to everyone, look, I'm beating up the boss, you do what I say. It's a completely different attitude here. And that is essentially why it could not be replicated, and basically why they could have got more mileage out of it, because when have we seen a face Vince McMahon being involved in a prolonged rivalry? Not many times. Not many times at all. In fact, I can't name any. I'm sure he's had more face-heel turns in the entire company's history, but I've never seen that. Never. And it's something that I feel would be quite refreshing, wouldn't it? They could have put more mileage out of it, but again, never going to replicate Stone Cold Vince. Never. McMahon and Austin is never going to be done again. And if they try, they'll prove they're doing the ultimate rehash. You know? I can understand MSDC Punk. It's a great question, but it's simple. It's simple as blunt as that. It's true that Orton McMahon, you know what? They could have actually made it to the main event of next year's, of the WrestleMania 26 with this storyline if they made it big enough. You know? Could have been that massive. But they had to kind of drop it away. You know? Largest 85, your second question. What are your thoughts on Mankind in 1996 and how Mick Foley portrayed the character? Bit of a crazed psycho, but I'll tell you now, Foley can play any part. That's one thing I love about him. He can play a deranged psycho. In the case of Mankind, and I feel Mankind's character was very weird back in '96. When I watched some stuff back of SummerSlam, of the Buried Alive match, and all the stuff leading around it. You kind of think, at the time, it was the Undertaker was a dark mediating force to basically terrify people. I feel Mankind was terrifying, and the fact of the actions he did, the inner mind frame of him, it was so unstable you couldn't believe what half the shit he was going to do. And it made his character unpredictable as fuck. Now, I may get this wrong, but I didn't watch WWE in 1996. So if I'm getting this slightly wrong, please tell me where I'm going wrong in the comments section if needed. And I feel Mick Foley can portray his voice in a higher pitch and tone, creates that anxious cowardliness of a frail mind. But in the actions that he portrayed through it, was made this perfect deranged psycho that just played off against the Undertaker's sensible notion of destruction really well, and that's what made the feud work. They weren't polar opposites, but in a way they complemented each other so bloody well, because the themes of their matches and the darkness and the doom and the violence of them, it made a lot of sense in 1996. It was so... I mean, what I've seen in the matches, it played a part. Because in the Boiler Room Brawl, you're thinking, oh god, this is scaring me slightly. Because it created that aura. Mankind had an aura around him. The music, that orchestral, classic, dark music, and it created the fear of you that you had no idea what this guy was going to do. What Mankind, this psychotic madman, was going to do next. And it worked. And Foley, you know how to do anything. You could pull off you could make yourself into Dude Love, for fuck's sake, and still make that work. So, hats off to you. Actually, I have a hat on to do that this time. Brennan Kennedy asks, would it be a good or bad thing if MVP returned? I say a good thing. Simply, I mean, the bad thing, obviously, people would say, okay, they're bringing him back. It's an old guy. That wouldn't be too much of an issue with a lot of people, because MVP had a lot of talent that was never fully utilised. Okay, former US champion, tag team champion, decent stuff there. Longest US champion of the year, of the current era. The only issue, I actually talked this over with NJ. The one issue is that in the modern day WWE that we live in, and with parental groups and pressure from other places intercepting with WWE, I often feel that MVP's past as a convicted criminal would be an issue for MVP, because these parent groups would be saying, what's this guy, convicted criminal, doing on my TV program that my kids watch? Sure, he's bettered himself, but all criminals are effectively criminals even when they come out of prison. So therefore, this guy shouldn't be on my TV, he's a bad influence. That's the kind of thing I predict some parent will say, and that will get MVP removed off TV. No matter how good the guy is in the ring, because he is pretty good, and how good he is on the mic, how good he is as a heel and a face. He's good at both. I think it'll be good on a wrestling standpoint for him to come back. The only bad thing is I can see some stuck-up bitch that's just a legitimate mother, in some cases, on some parts of America, who would be anti a former convict in a prison going on WWE TV. Hell, remember when Booker T's criminal past got highlighted on Raw in 2003 in the lead up to WrestleMania? No one batted an eyelid. But in this PG era where the Be a Star campaign and GLAAD and all these organisations are effectively influencing what WWE does, you kind of get the impression that was going to happen. That could happen. That MVP comes back, makes a big splash on things, and then some parental group just comes over and say, look, this person's a criminal. You can't put a criminal on my TV show or my kids are going to watch, and say, ooh, it's cool to go and do things that are with crime. Too bad that isn't actually how the word works, you stuck-up hags. But it is a possibility. It's all good for wrestling and us watching, but other people will have an issue with it, and it will be good. See, this is why I say, even in this kind of argument, there is a good and bad side. Completely unrelated, but it at least is there. And I feel it would be sad if MVP does return and he gets taken off due to something like that, but the likelihood of it happening is quite small, despite me hyping it up as being quite a huge issue. But you never know what's going to happen when parents watching go and look up the wrestlers, and his son or daughter goes to the computer and says, Mummy, look, he used to be in prison because of this robbery thing he used to do. He spent over 10 years in prison, and now he's on TV wrestling in the biggest company that I love so much. You can understand how much of an issue that could be to some prospective parent. It's possible. Don't completely rule it out. It could happen to anyone. If anyone had that past on their hands and they were there, it can happen to anyone. Seriously, if it does happen, you'll know where it got called first. Right. Nintendo Fanboy 1988. I think I got that right. I hope I did, because I've already answered one of your questions before in a previous Q&A. Well, that's just me writing this down wrong. Well, this is a very interesting question. If John Cena or Randy Orton pulled a Benoit, I use that as a verb or an adjective, either one, and killed their family and then themselves, what would WWE do? Now, this is very interesting, because obviously if this did happen, it would be catastrophic to WWE. Because of course you know that the Benoit tragedy happened. Of course, he wasn't a big main eventer. He was a mid-carder at the time. He was on ECW, for God's sake. Most people didn't even watch his last couple of matches. Me included. I didn't watch ECW back in 2007. And he wasn't really noticed. But when he was gone, it was a massive shock. And when it happened, it created shockwaves because of the influence. Now, look at Cena and Orton in a comparison to Benoit. They are ginormous in fan base. They are ginormous in merchandise sales. They are well known to a lot of people, especially in Cena's case. If they did it, if Orton did it, they would probably not be able to do anything. They would probably fall by the wayside and go, but they might be able to salvage something from that. Orton, I feel, there is a lot more leeway with him. They could probably continue just barely because of that. If it was Cena, on the other hand, though, WWE would be fucked in the ass like nothing ever before. Not even the Benoit tragedy or the Owen Hart tragedy has ever done. This would kill it if Cena did it. If Cena did it, the WWE would die there and then. They would not get any second chances. They would be fully investigated by the federal courts. They would be continuously harassed by the police, saying, okay, these people are on drugs, and then obviously they would lead it down to injuries that the company have caused. Families of wrestlers with injuries could then go on a huge wave of lawsuits, and the people, knowing it's happened again, will switch off because they know they can't watch it anymore because one man died of it, and one of the biggest in history soon followed. In WWE's personified propaganda history. They tried to, and successfully did, erase the majority of Chris Benoit from their footage, which, to this day, still gets me really angry and really upset. However, they cannot erase Orton and Cena from the history, because they are such a fundamental part of the history of the last 10 years. That you can't do it. Simple. They would not be able to. And that's the big issue. Because if WWE would continue after doing that, the company would just be in complete tatters, wouldn't it? I think they would probably shut up shop. And that's sad to even consider that a possibility. But if it ever did happen, they'd have no choice. There'd be so much negative publicity, so much antagonism, that they would probably never recover. And that's a sorry truth about this. And it's sad. Really is sad, ladies and gentlemen. Really is. Because if it did happen, I'd probably be kissing goodbye to WWE in a special little video. And we'd all be actually quite sad. Because that would not be a good thing for us, losing one of the biggest companies, not just in the wrestling world, but our lives as well. This is a long video. I'm almost at the half-hour mark, and I don't think I'm even halfway through my questions. Nearly. Okay, next question from Playlist Maker SG. Interesting name there, not even related to wrestling. Nice one. If you could bring back any pay-per-view, what would it be? And this question I often get asked a lot, but not on Q&As, surprisingly. This is tough. Because on pay-per-view name alone, I'd bring back quite a few pay-per-views. Because I would bring back anything to replace Hell in a Cell. I'd bring anything back to get rid of Over the Limit, possibly. I mean, there are a lot of pay-per-views. I mean, Armageddon I'd bring back simply because of the name and the theme music. The theme music alone I'd bring Armageddon back. But the one that always is in the back of my mind, I say, if I want to bring back a pay-per-view, bring this one back. And everyone is going to agree with me on this one. King of the Ring. Why? Well, there's two reasons why I would bring it back. One, it has lots of history. It's, of course, the 5th longest pay-per-view in WWE's history. Therefore, it has damn, tongue twisting again. The legitimacy of being one of the biggest pay-per-views WWE ever put on. Second, and simply because it gives the King of the Ring some place and purpose to shine. Because what has the King of the Ring been in the last couple of years? A small little tournament on Monday Night Raw taking up a whole show where they can't think of anything to put on the show at all. And that is a complete disappointment, because the King of the Ring should be, and always probably must have been, still in the pay-per-view slot. It deserved its prime place on the pay-per-view calendar. And in all fairness, that with Money in the Bank, two viable avenues of building a future star. Because that's how you do it. You win accomplishments like King of the Ring in your first year or second year, you then make yourself something. You win Money in the Bank in your first year and win it cheatingly like Del Rio, you're ridiculed. Difference? Because the King of the Ring has legitimacy. And therefore, if it's there, everyone gets something from it. You get to the semi-finals of the King of the Ring, people start understanding, okay, who is this guy? Or if they go to the final and go, okay, this guy could get a big push soon. And it gives you a chance of confidence in knowing the WWE is pushing people to the main event picture alongside a WWE Championship main event, usually the match before it. And you want to see that. You want to see guys getting pushed in a way which is not going to dampen down the push of other people in singles matches. Because you could have a match, say, Riley-Miz. Riley won the match, but he still went on and did nothing. Okay? If he came to the final of the King of the Ring, he would probably get flattened and then probably still have some momentum because people would know who he is. They'd cheer for him and congratulate him after what he did. It therefore means it all makes sense. It all works. The King of the Ring should be brought back. Should be brought back. Definitely. And if it doesn't get brought back, it's a complete waste of a lot of people's time. Because, I mean, sure, you can bring back Armageddon, No Mercy, Backlash, No Way Out's already been brought back. You bring back a lot of pay-per-views. Fully Loaded, Capital Carnage, Canadian Stampede. I would even say bring that, just to give the Canadians a pay-per-view. But unfortunately for me, that I know I'm not in the position to say that they will do this. Obviously, it'll be hard to say in any form if they ever will, because it's a good ratings boomer apparently for Raw, and it therefore means us to stay on Raw. The draft on Raw, that's a completely separate thing because no one benefits in terms of winning or losing a match. In the case of the King of the Ring, however, you can build a career on winning or losing that match. Therefore, bring it back. Bring the King. And normally, I wouldn't be the guy to say bring the King of the Ring back. I'm not a traditionalist. But in this case, after a few bits of thinking, I can say, do it. Bring the King of the Ring back for the sake of building your future. Cancerous Mic Work. You asked, do you own any wrestling action figures? I can tell you, I do. I own quite a lot of Jakks Pacific figures from 2003-04 onwards to about 2009-10ish. Because I love those fuckers. I love those figures. Fuckers? Yeah! So I said the wrong thing here. I love those figures. Because the detail, the maneuverability in them, they were just fantastic. The weapons and the backstage thingamajigs you can get. The playset things were phenomenal. I got the Hell in a Cell playset for these figures years ago because I wanted something ridiculously epic, and it was fun as hell. Simply because the figures were the detail actually on the big, giant, not to scale, but the biggest version of the Elimination Chamber. I saw that in a shop once. My eyes were like, that's just... It made a part of my wrestling fandom. Because I could watch the show, play the video games, play with the figures, because it made my imagination run wild. Of course I have them. Unfortunately, they used to be in this room. They're not there anymore. Because this room was tidied. They used to be in a box over there. There's no box there anymore. They used to be over here. That's now a chest of drawers. That's where they used to be. Unfortunately, they're in the room next door. They're in the room just over there. Basically, the room next to mine is where they currently are. They're in the spare room, gathering dust in their boxes. I can take pride in knowing I have one of the last Chris Benoit figures. I can pride myself in having a Cactus Jack figure, which was a limited edition, which came with a barbed wire board. I paid 20 quid for that on eBay. And I'm proud I did it because it was bloody worth having Mick Foley in my collection. I'm sad that I couldn't get Daniel Bryan or Sheamus in my collection. I'm sad that, to be honest, I mean, people go mental about how good the Mattel figures are. But to me, for childhood nostalgia and the epicness, I look at the detail on the Jakks figures and go, the familiarity of the detail of the faces is just not there. And I miss that. Sure, they may move quite well and they may be quite fun to play with, but I will not buy them. Because also, look at me. I'm 20 years old. I don't actually play with those figures anymore. I still have them for a bit of nostalgia, but I use the Xbox to do what the figures used to do before I really use the wrestling games for what I use for today. Imaginary fantasy WWE stuff. Basically, I do my own pay-per-views and cards and stuff. I used to do it with the figures, not anymore. So, times have changed. You go from toys to video games. Then maybe the real thing. No, that's not going to happen. But yes, they're all there. I have owned some, and I can't count them all, but there are quite a few. Just to point that out. If I had the chance, I would go into that spare room and do it, and show you them. But unfortunately, I can't. Sorry about that, but that's how life is. Ray Lott. Oh, no, actually, no, I'm not going to go to Ray Lott's second question, because Playlist Maker SG's second question is there before it. Do you think there's a point in a Raw Super Show or NXT? Now, you had to ratify what this question was after you posted the question. Good to be precise and sure. A Raw Super Show, you are saying, is there a point in Raw having both brands in the Super Show of Raw right now? Now, okay, it's annoying because I actually read this up on Bleacher Report a couple of days ago. They're saying that the Laurinaitis long match will signal the end of the brand extension, and the Super Show can effectively happen on Raw and SmackDown. But I realised in that same slide that SmackDown is weak because they haven't got the Super Show aspect to their show. SmackDown guys can appear on Raw, but on the other end, it hardly ever happens. And it's never hyped. Raw is never hyped on SmackDown, yet no matter how much SmackDown's hyped on Raw, they were trying to get SmackDown onto Raw so people can remember that SmackDown's on and watch it. The downside of the current point of Raw Super Show is because the SmackDown guys are actually getting more screen time on there than they are their own show. How bad is that? And it makes, in my opinion, there isn't really a point for the Super Show. I mean, sure, if they're going to end the brand extension, then the Raw Super Show premise is there and it should apply to both brands. If they're not going to do it, don't have the brands appearing on the same show together. That's why there are two brands in the first place. Get my drift? Because this is the point. You've got two different shows, two different rosters. That's how it should be. They should only cross paths in a feud leading to WrestleMania. That's, in my opinion, that is going back a couple of years, but it's how it should be, and it's technically how it should have stayed. But times change. NXT, on the other hand, there is no point for NXT to even exist. It means nothing. They should have kept WWE ECW as a brand if they were going to replace it with shit like they have with NXT. NXT doesn't build talent. Sure, the first season did because we gave a shit, but we don't give a shit about NXT now, do we? No? Good, because I don't care. It was the most boredom-inducing thing when I saw it live, and it's got basically superstars, at least has some credible talent on it. The Hunico Justin Gabriel match I saw a couple of weeks ago was awesome. Makes me wonder, holy crap, why am I not watching this regularly? And then you see NXT and you go, that's just jobbers. That's just Tyson Kidd and Yoshi Tatsu. I mean, sure, there's good wrestlers, but that's my point. NXT has turned into jobbers. The guys who are in NXT, what I've seen, I don't normally see them, and there is no real point for NXT at all. After the second or third season, they should... I'll say this. After the second season, they should have binned it. Because it lost the fan base quickly. And we didn't give a shit. It was not the best way to build talent. It's not the best place to stick your jobbers either. Make sense? Good. Sorry about that. Bot nose is making me go a little bit dizzy. Raylot 2. Your second question. Why do you think the WWE goes to New York every couple of months when they go to another town once or twice a year? Very interesting question. Love this question. Simply, there is one reason for it. New York is a giant money bringer. A lot of wrestling fans in New York, because it's where the industry and WWE in total it's the region where it was built. And Madison Square Garden, New York City, it's synonymous with WWE. They are bound to get people who go there every so often and basically make it a great time. Some other places, I don't know. Are there any other reasons why, apart from the fact it's got a lot of people and a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of history? Because apart from that, I always wonder why they don't go to places every couple of months. I mean, there's apparently some parts of the USA that haven't received a Raw in 2 years. How is that fair? Giving it to big cities just because it gives you more money? That's not fair. If you're going to give it to a state or a town or a city, give it to them. Because it gives the WWE fans there something to be happy about if a pay-per-view doesn't come there. If they get disappointed. If a WrestleMania doesn't come there, they know they're not going to get fuck all. If Raw or SmackDown doesn't even visit there, they go, what's the point? What's our city or town even doing on the map if WWE can't go there? And I've always said, if their touring schedule was just going from place to place every so often, going to Raw or SmackDown in different places, surely making it more diverse every couple of weeks, months, going to even have Raws in different countries instead of having their house shows. And it's where I feel New York is just a place where WWE knows they are welcome. They are not welcome in some other places. People will not react well to them. And a lot of places, the shows don't sell out. In New York, you're guaranteed it. In other places, you're not so guaranteed because there might not be an audience. And if they know they can go to New York and make a quick extra buck, then they will do it. That answers your question. Nintendo Fanboy 1988, your second question. Have you ever travelled to the US to watch a wrestling event? No. For one simple reason, I have never been to America. I have never been to the USA. And hopefully that will change when I go to WrestleMania. Please, I must have WrestleMania this upcoming year. Not WrestleMania 28 though, that's out of my grasp with a week to go. I could have, but it was just too much of a thin line between the end of my college year. Because actually, not going to the end of the year, but the end of the term, right? Because I end my term next week on the 30th of March. 2 days before Mania. There is no way I could go to WrestleMania and come back within a couple of days. There's no way I could do that. Which is why I'm waiting for next year. I then go to New York, New Jersey, a place I've always wanted to go. I can then get some advice from Man vs. Food and go to some of their great eats. And basically, I'll have a lot of free time on my hands if the term dates for uni have a great, huge amount of space in March. Perfect, isn't it? And it's on April the 7th, isn't it? Yeah, it'll hopefully be, that'll be when I'm off uni at that time. Makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I think I will go to the US at some point to watch a wrestling event. It will be a pay-per-view though, because I'm not going to America just for a Raw or SmackDown. I'm going for a pay-per-view. No dice. I mean, I do want to go see Ring of Honor, but nonetheless, I will do it eventually. Just saying, I will do it eventually. It'll happen. MSDC Punk, your next question. Do you see WWE's current policy of targeting the youth audience more as a long-term investment in the hope they stick around for the next 20 or 30 years, or more about short financial gain through merchandise sales? Now this is a lovely question, because there are a lot of ways you can attack this. WWE has done this formula of keeping an audience to its product and maturing it to change their product and make it even more popular to outside fans. They did it from the Rock and Roll Wrestling era all the way to the Attitude Era and a bit of the Ruthless Aggression era. It all worked. And you could say that is a reason why they're doing it. But I feel at the moment with the change to PG, the short financial gain does come into it. And I feel that keeping the audience long term does actually fade away, because they could keep that product as PG rated, as a merchandise bringer and a money bringer from sponsors for years to come, and their audience would not have changed a bit, because there are people like me who are staying on from like 10 years ago, and there's some even further who won't give a shit. But that's the only thing. It'll then be up to them to bring kids into this world who can watch it, and the cycle just keeps going over and over again. The youth audience matters because it is vital, and they will mature. They will then make the significant choice, much like most of us who are wrestling fans do, and say, okay, after a while I'm getting bored of this, I'm not going to watch. Or they invest, and the cycle just keeps going on over and over again. I mean, the long-term investment of a youth audience is... both of them are likely to happen. In fact, fuck it, I would say both are happening now. The only problem I would say about the long-term investment thing is that when I've been to WWE events recently, Raws and SmackDowns, I often see... I talked to a kid behind me, next to me even, with his dad sitting behind him, and we talked about wrestling, and he knew a hell of a lot. And his dad said, I don't like this, I just wanted to be along because he needed a parent to be with. And that's quite so good that these kids are getting into wrestling on their own, much like I did. But the fact is, if the cycle continues, where you become a parent and then you get your kids into wrestling, that's where the cycle of the youth audience becoming a long-term investment, because that can happen and the cycle will continue. But the problem is, the sort of financial gain route is always going to be there. It is never going to go away, and you can't say that the youth audience is one or the other. It is both. It is not one, it's not long-term or short-term. WWE is using it for both, and they will continue to do it until the end of their entire company. I'll tell you now, it's a business model that works, and I would not recommend it, but I'd say go for it if it means you're getting a bit extra money and getting people who are not really your audience, but someone who you could mature into a fan. Could be very good. Because look at me, I started watching wrestling at the age of 11. Look where I am now, people. It's nearly, well, actually, I'm saying now, it's nearly been 10 years, and I'm here still. Simple. People, young age, get into it. Technically, I'm not you're not officially a teenager until you're about 14, 15, 16-ish. So, to get to even at a young age, it's worth it. So, look, kids out there, stay with the business, stick with wrestling. It'll give you a lot of good times in the future. Right. Cancerous mic work, your second question. What is the worst wrestling game that you've ever played in your whole entire life? Bloody hell, that was a blunt question. Okay, I'll point this out quickly. I'm a WWE games guy. I don't play many other wrestling games beside that. I have played some of them, and a lot of them have been pretty poor. Now, some would say to me, oh, the Japanese ones are awesome because they're giant rosters. I haven't played them, so I haven't got any view. There are two that come into my mind. One, the Legends of Wrestling series. Simply because I felt even with their great roster, their controls were a bit poor, the commentary was poor, and for the most part, what was it there apart from showing how big its roster was? You didn't really get much else from the series, and I felt it was quite sad. Because they got Ultimate Warrior in there, Hulk Hogan, Sting. They got loads of big names that WWE will only dream of getting. And it ranged from the early years of wrestling all the way up to now, and it was good. They include Big Daddy, John Haystacks, people like that. British wrestlers who I don't really consider in the same league, but it's world of sport, who I care. And the other one, you're not going to shoot me for this. A lot of the Attitude Era diehards are going to go, you can't desecrate this game. It's one of the best in history. There's no way in hell you can do this. But I will. Because No Mercy sucks. I'm sorry if you get so offended you have a heart attack. But it's true. That game sucks balls. To point it out bluntly, there are a load of reasons why. Okay, I didn't have a Nintendo 64 growing up. I had a Dreamcast. And even WWF Attitude was shit. Even WWF Royal Rumble was shit. But No Mercy, despite the roster of the time, despite the creative features, the controls, the fundamental notion of the controls are so confusing, I can't play it. I cannot play it. Plus, my Nintendo 64 gamepad has the down key on the D-pad broken. So I effectively can't do shit. I tried to play it, I couldn't. Wrestling games for me are about using your creativity to make wrestling things happen. And also just playing it and having fun. And I can't play an N64 and play that game well and have fun with it. I can't. Simple. I cannot. And you guys are all you're gonna flame me in that comment section. I don't care. I don't like No Mercy. I don't like the N64 as a gaming console. I've got it. I've had it for a while now. I'm not a big fan of it. That explains why I got Ocarina of Time on this bitch. That's why I got an Ocarina of Time on my 3DS. Because it was absolutely worth it. It worked better on a handheld console. Because I've got it. It works better on a handheld console, in my opinion. And that's the thing. It just was not what everyone was hyping it up to be. And you Attitude Era diehard should stop doing something like that. Because you grazed my hopes and then crushed them. Because I ended up realising it's not as good as you remember it either. It may be ever expansive, have an easy control system, and graphics, yay! Well, graphics have obviously become a lot better, but the gameplay in that game just turned me off it completely. Sorry if that does offend you, but different opinions here, people. Different opinions. That's how it goes. Ah! No, seriously though, it's your opinion if you like No Mercy. But I've said it before. One of the worst pounds I ever spent. Bought that for £1 at Cash Converters. I have regretted that buy ever since. Nintendo Fanboy 1988, your last question, and I'm actually sorry that I can't answer this. What is your favourite episode of Raw? Now this is very difficult because I have to remember matches and moments, and I've been watching Raw for actually, you know what, I only started watching Raw properly in late 2003, early 2004, when I realised Raw was on. Okay? One of my earliest Raw memories was Shelton Benjamin beating Evolution 1 by 1. That's one of my earliest memories of Raw, and that's the thing. I didn't watch Raw a lot in 2003. It was mostly my viewing and the early part of my watchings was SmackDown, because it was on at a good time the day. But I can't name a favourite episode without having to remember all these moments, all the greatest matches on Raw. It's very difficult. And I have tried to research in terms of moments and matches, but I can't. I'm really sorry, because it's one of those all-round questions I really, really was fearing I'd never get in one of these Q&As. But I'm sorry I can't answer that question, man. I really apologise. But if you got a question similar, would you be able to do it in such detail and scope? Just saying, because I'm finding it hard to think about it, and it is really difficult. So I'm sorry, but your other questions have been answered. I hope that's fine. MSDC Punk, your last question. Oh, sorry about that, guys. It's phlegm country. It's going to kick you in the ass sooner or later. Do you think WWE Legends and Hall of Famers have too much presence in the company at the moment? Could this be hurting the development of contemporary talent? It's obvious it's hurting contemporary talent. It's obvious because they're dedicating more screen time to the older cronies. And Hall of Famers and Legends, the fact is, I feel they deserve their time on TV, but because of the WWE losing Edge, Shawn Michaels, Batista, all these big guys, they want to attract people to the product and bring in star power. And the contemporary guys do not have that star power. That's why they're using them, and it's the fact that they bring back The Rock, they use Austin whenever they can, they're using Shawn Michaels right now to good effect, but it still puts out a point they could use someone else. Triple H, Undertaker. Could we use someone else to fight Undertaker? Yes, but no one will believe it for a second. And it is bad. They have too much of a presence of company around WrestleMania because it's the biggest event of the year and they've got to try and get people to watch it. But most of the year I find that people on the internet talk about Legends. They don't really talk about the modern day product unless they watch it enough. And it hurts contemporary talent the company relies on the legacy of its legends to show itself as being worth investing in for long periods of time. That these people have come through, people can claim that these people laid the foundations. The people in this industry now and in this company now will become those guys in the future. That's what they are trying to build on. It's a propaganda machine. And people will understand that in time, these people they're watching, this contemporary talent, will become that eventually. Some will, some won't. But in all fairness, for fairness, MSDC Punk, the contemporary talent at the moment aren't getting any time. And these Hall of Famers and legends, they're taking up time that they really shouldn't be getting. I mean, Rock can return, do what he has to do in this rivalry. But then when he's done, when he's done in this feud, he should allow other people to come in and take his place. But they're not going to do it because they realise it'll be too much of a money bringer and therefore they have to keep him around. It's annoying, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. But it has to be done for WWE's sake. Simple. Right, now, ladies and gentlemen, these are the last two questions on my Q&A. I'm about to hit the hour mark in 5 minutes. These two questions, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you now, they cover a similar viewpoint, but only one of them is worthy of being answered. Okay, let me go through them first. First one is Largest 85. Do you see WWE getting good in 2012 or going down the drain? Good question, I can actually divulge opinion on. Biased or unbiased aside, I can say good things about WWE now and why it is good now, but I could also mention how bad things could harm it and then go down the drain if it perceives and goes on and on and on to the point where people don't watch anymore. That's a good argument. The other question, on the other hand, is not even that. Cancerous Mic Work, your third question. I'm pretty ashamed. You have two good questions, and then you lay me down with this bombshell. Why does World Wrestling Entertainment suck doggy dicks? A troll question, a flame question, here on my Q&A. I'm sorry, pal, that doesn't just cut it here. You see, Largest 85 may be a person I know who puts out his negative opinion quite a lot, but he's at least giving me a question where I can split my opinion and say there's a good thing and there's a bad thing. In this, the fact that there is no way I can actually do anything in engaging a constructive argument apart from berating you and explaining why it doesn't suck, that's not a basis for a good question. And to be honest, it proves why I would obviously self-monitor my questions. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the creme de la creme of stupid troll questions. Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to click my mouse. Hope you can hear that. I'm then going to highlight this. And then, that is the backspace key deleting Cancerous Mic Works question. Now, I hope that's a message to you people. Do not send me questions like that. Do not send me stupid questions like that. Because if you do, I will probably just ask you to give me something else. But if I ever have to do something like what I've just done now to crown off the hour on this Q&A vid, do not try. Do not even bother. Because I won't give any notice to your questions. I hope that hasn't embarrassed you in any way, Cancerous Mic Work, or is this the kind of reaction you wanted? Just put it out there, this will happen in the future, if it happens again. Okay? Cool. You all clear? All good? Sweet. Right, Largest 85, this question here. Got to get on to the question at hand, the last question in my Q&A, with 1 minute to go before the hour. WWE, I feel at this moment in time, in 2012, has basically left off where 2011 basically ended. It's a mixed bag. Because if you look at the two pay-per-views we've had this year, the Royal Rumble, I gave a 6.25 out of 10. Very good. Just above average. It's above average. And that was good. I found that was a fantastic way to start the year after an average-ish end of the year. Okay? Then we get Elimination Chamber, which one of the worst shows I've seen in the last couple of years. Not the worst, but one of the worst in the last couple of years, especially one of the worst since I started reviewing these full time on YouTube. And I feel the WWE at the moment is doing a proverbial balancing act. There are some things which I am loving. The Punk-Jericho feud. The build-up to Taker, Triple H 2. There are a lot of things I don't like. Basically, the implementation of a celebrity diva tag match, as well as the inclusion of any way, shape, or form of the Funkasaurus. Even though it's not on TV right now, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking the Great Khali on TV still. I'm not liking some of the matches because they're boring. Or in some cases, not really worth any purpose. But, just for the sake of it, for WWE getting good in 2012, it is doing okay. If WrestleMania proves to be a rousing success, then I can say WWE will hopefully be on the up. But going down the drain or going up and down, basically, it depends on your perspective. Now, if you feel it's going to go down the drain for whatever reasons, that's fine. It'll go down the drain if it continues to push storylines that we haven't got our time to invest in. Teddy Long, John Laurinaitis. We are excited about the fact that we could see Laurinaitis or Teddy Long taking up the brand full time. I'm excited about that. What I'm not excited about is the usage of a 12-man tag to do it. If they do little things like that over the course of a year, and I did that with poor promos, in fact, sticking even in the Bella Twins at the beginning of Raw after, I think, Elimination Chamber, or the Royal Rumble, I can't remember which one. I think it was Elimination Chamber. No, actually, I've got it on here on my worst moment of the year category for my Wrestling Rant Awards. Let me get this up here. That was the 21st of February edition. That was the night after Elimination Chamber. Or was it? Yes, it was technically the night after, on the Monday, on the 20th, for you guys in America. And that's, if they do little things like that or do what they did with the Funkasaurus, but I'm going to turn off. They do things like that, it's going to go down the drain for me. But if they keep doing decent in-ring products, decent in mic segments, decent matches, decent everything, they won't go down. They won't get superbly good, but I want them to get better than average, you know? I want WWE to do better than average. And everyone wants to see that. But, simple as, it's all down to your perception of the product. If you think it's going up or down, you say so. For me, like I've said, it's a balancing act in the middle of the road, which going into WrestleMania is not a good thing. Because WrestleMania needs to be on the high good and not much poor. But last year's WrestleMania is anything to go by. The product is basically on an average point. It's not great. It's not shit either. But that's the thing. Whether it goes up or down isn't my decision to make now. We're only a quarter of the way through the year now, just about getting up to that point. Once we get to the SummerSlam period, once we get to SummerSlam and we start looking back on the year, we can then judge on the direction in which it's taken, whether it has gone down the drain, and whether it is getting better. You okay with that? Awesome. And guys, that is it. That is the end of my Q&A at 1 hour and 3 minutes. It is now time to end. Thank you all so much. If you stayed up through this entire video, thank you, because it shows your dedication and support for what I do. You want to support me some more? You want to get more vids from me? All you gotta do, and I know you guys want to if you haven't, is click that subscribe button up there. I appreciate the support you guys give me. Want to give me some more support? You can click like on that link down there, where you can like Cream Crazy's Wrestling Rant on Facebook. Also, add my personal account as well. It will or will not be down there. You'll find me in the Wrestling Rant page anyway. Also, add me on Skype, CreamCrazyWR, for any wrestling discussion. Even though I have been off Skype recently, I've been getting on it the last couple of days. Haven't talked to anyone though, which is sad. That's my lack of a social life for you. Also, guess what, guys? The Q&A question process opens all over again. You can start asking me Q&A questions from the moment the video is technically over for you. Whether that be your question being answered, or the fact that you've watched the entire thing through. You can now give me your questions for the April Q&A. Oh, let me just see if I've got the April Q&A. I don't think I've actually got one in April. Let me have a look. April Q&A, April Q&A. No, I actually don't have an April Q&A planned. Well, I probably do. I will plan something in the long run. I will. If not, they will go forward to the May Q&A. Either way, it's happening. So, guys, give me your questions starting now. Any point you can give me questions and it'll come through. I'll answer them. If not, if they're on the video, I'll stick them on Facebook or Skype and I'll answer them there and then. But if they're good enough for the Q&A, I'll consider them for it. So, guys, I've been Cream Crazy. You've been people watching. This has been the March Q&A. And I will see you guys for my next video, which is one big one. Because this will be my WrestleMania 28 predictions, where I will finally reveal whose side am I on. Am I in the C Nation, or am I on Team Bring It? Because you're going to find out next week. See you guys then. Hope you have a good week. Cheers. Ha ha ha.